Okay guys, welcome to this second video on basically simulating callbacks and being able to get information from MotionBuilder. And in this particular video, we're going to be looking at FB system and everything that we can get back from FB system. There's a bunch of cool stuff that we can get from it, and there's a little bit of setup. But I feel like the more that you do this kind of setup, the more used to it you get. I certainly like to do it. Again, I've got nothing special going on in MotionBuilder here except for the import, which we've now done, and a fresh scene. And again, the file has been saved, so we're able to run it and stuff like that. Oh, excuse me. So, FB system. I think I said before that FB system kind of takes care of, especially when we're looking at our callbacks at least, and the things that we can kind of add our functions into. It's all about what the system is actually having to do um, in regards of connections and stuff like that, and whether the user's selecting something or deselecting something and getting feedback for that. So the first thing that we need to do here is we need to define system, right? So we're just going to do sys, much like I do app, and we're going to do FB system, okay? And we're just going to put a bracket on the end of that. We're going to call that, and we're also going to print sys in order to just sanity check ourselves and just say that, yeah, we've got system as an object. Okay, so with that done, another thing that we are going to use is we're going to use app again, but we're not going to use it for any kind of callbacks or anything like that. Well, we kind of are. What I'm going to use FB application for is essentially what I like to call a palette cleanser. What we're going to use it for is much like the previous video when we used the merge function in order to remove and unregister our functions from the stack that we actually want to call. We're going to use merge again. Okay, it's a bit of a weird one, but like I always find that it works pretty well for me to just use merge, merge in a file or something, and then go file new after that, and then it's just clean. So let's start out with actually setting up our registers. Oh, it'd be good if I put def in front of that. Our register and unregister. So register and unregister. And we know unregister register. And we also know that at the end of this we are going to call register anyway. Right then, so what are we actually going to register? Well, let's look at sys then, and let's just do the classic on and then control space, and you can see that we've got a bunch of stuff that we can connect to already. And it's always exciting kind of going through these different things and just typing in on and seeing what you can actually get connected to. Again, not going to go through all of them, just going to go through a couple of them, and the rest of them are up for you to go and figure out what they all do. Yeah, let's start with on connection notify. And we're just going to add in a function for that, and for the sake of clarity, we'll just call the function the same as the thing that we've actually created, right? We're also going to set up our file merge palette cleanser. We need to do an on file merge. We want to add in our unregister. Unregister, there we go. So whenever we merge now, we're going to deregister everything that we've actually put in, and we're going to basically have a, as I say, a palette cleanser, so we're not inundated in all of these print statements that we're trying to parse through. And then it would help if the unregister actually had something. So let's put our code there in the unregister. And we want to remove it. We don't want to add it. There we go. Cool. Right, so let's actually build the function, which is actually going to show us some things. For the unregister as well, let's just remember to put that control to equal none and that event to equal none. Cool, right then. Okay, so let's get writing our definition for on connection notify. Now, as I said before, remember we always need a control and event with these things, so control and event. The way that I understand on connection notify is everything that gets connected inside of the scene at any given point of being created or having to have its connection broken from a deselect or something like that. It's not the deselect itself; it's the breaking of the connection. So, say breaking the connection from the graph editor to show a particular model that you've got selected's curves, disconnecting that and reconnecting the next thing that needs to be connected into that particular view, right? So what we can do here is we can just do a print of event, but I'm not going to do just a print of event. Okay, there's a couple of different things, and I've got my notes over to the side of all these different ones that we can use, and I'll just show you a couple of them. There's a couple of different things that we can get on this print statement that shows quite a bit of interesting information about what MotionBuilder is doing in the background. So one of those is action. Another one is event, where we're looking at connection type here. That's quite a good one. We also have event source plug, and we also have event destination plug. Now there is one more, and that other one is new plug. Now from what I understand it, new plug is used a lot whenever you're merging stuff, so things getting replaced and stuff like that. So we've got our register, because you know that's that there. We are registering our function to be part of the connection notify stack of functions that need to execute. We have our on connection notify definition going there. We've got everything kind of set up. Let's give this a play and see what happens. Oh, I made a rookie error. A rookie error. Okay, now let's give it a shot and see what happens. We may have registered this twice by accident. So what I might do is I might just do a file merge very quickly. And again, I'm just keep using this face file over and over again just as a palette cleanser. And we should be able to like bring in an element like a cube and nothing shows up. Cool. We've got no callbacks or anything at the moment. Let's just hit new, don't save. And let's just hit play again on this. There we go. Okay, so everything's kind of looking nice. And I'll just clear out the console for us so it's a little bit easier to read. So now what happens when I bring in a cube is you can see that MotionBuilder gives us a flurry of different print statements that are basically telling us exactly what MotionBuilder is doing at those given points in time. So for the connection source, and if you want to look a little bit further into this, Alex Forsyth has a great video about how everything in MotionBuilder kind of works. It's beautiful. But to give you a very quick rundown of it, not even a good rundown of it, just a very rudimentary rundown of it, there are objects that have their own properties, but everything has a source and everything has a destination, where it's coming from and where it's going, how it's connected. So inside of here, you can see that you know, some of these have got, well, all of them have got connection type none, but we have things like translation, which is coming through, and I guarantee that if I were to click, you know, get the translate up here, you can see that that's what we've got there. We've got rotation as well. These are all in keying groups, right? So the source being the actual translation, and the destination for that information goes into the keying group. So it's starting to make a little bit more sense now. We also have things like, you know, the actual creation of the model itself and having to connect that to the scene. So we've got this mesh here, which is the source, which gets connected to the destination, which is the scene. So it's a little bit confusing when you first start to look at it, and believe me, it still confuses the hell out of me as I'm trying to describe it as much as I kind of understand it. But at the same time, that kind of makes sense, right? It's the source is the thing, so in some cases it's the mesh, but it needs to be connected to the destination, which is the scene. In some cases it's translation, that's the source, that's the information, but it needs to be connected to the keying group. And that is what onConnectionNotify does. It gives you all of these things. Now, how would I use this? Well, I've not had a real use to, or a real need to use this yet, but I did think of one when I was trying to, like, you know, think about different ways that this could be used for the video. And one of those ways is, what we'll do very quickly is we'll just do a quick merge and we'll just do a quick palette cleanser. Merge in a file. We'll just make sure as well that if I'm selecting things, we're not getting any callbacks, which is beautiful, hunky-dory, brilliant. We'll just do a file new. And again, just it sounds really stupid, but registers and unregisters are a little bit finicky, and I've always found that using the file merge is a good way of not having to constantly close down MotionBuilder. Just have a file in FBX, merge something, just clean it all out, should be good. So what way could you use on the connection notify? Well, there's a couple of different things there, isn't there? There's the actual connection of the data to the keying group itself, but more importantly, and this is the stuff that I like, this is the stuff where you start to look a little bit hacky around the edges. Technically, when we bring the cube in, we get callback. We get something from this connection notified to say that, hey, something's been connected to the scene. So, with that being said, what we can do is we could do something like, okay, if the event of the source plug dot class name, let's go with class name to start off with, equals was it FB model? I believe it was FB model. Or it was FB model and FB mesh, but we'll go with the FB model. And we could potentially put another and statement after this, but let's just do this one step at a time, right? So if the source plug class name is FB model, then we're going to do something. So let's just print out the destination plug at the moment. So print event destination plug. So let's just see if this runs. And I'm expecting one error potentially, and we'll just see if it does come up. So let's run this. Cool. Let's throw this in. Okay, so now we're getting something which is a little bit more condensed, okay? We've got that big flurry of information, we've seen all the different things that we can pass through, and we've decided to pass through a particular element of it, and that is that the class name is FB model now. Right then, okay, let's do something really rudimentary. You can be way more kind of intelligent about how you do this, but let's just go one level deeper in these if statements and just do it as is. You could code this way better, but for the purposes of kind of introducing you to the concept, I think this is a good way of doing it. So let's just go one level deeper here, and let's just say, hey, at the same time, if the source plug dot name is, and we know it's probably going to be cube because that's what we keep throwing in, then print the destination plug. Okay. Cool. So again, I'm just going to do a quick palette cleanser here. Let's just go file new. Sweet. We can run this now. We'll get rid of everything in the console. We'll run the cube. Okay, cool. So we know that everything that's coming through here is referring to cube in some sense, right? But then what we can do is we can say, okay, cool. Specifically, if the destination plug is the scene, basically saying, hey, if the model has been put into the scene, if there's a connection that's been made, what I want you to do is print back that a connection's been made. So if event.destinationPlug.className equals FB scene, then print back to the console, user made a cube. Okay, and again, it may seem like it's a long-winded way of doing it, but believe me, this is a much quicker way of not having to constantly close down MotionBuilder. So if it's a model, if it's a cube, and if it's been a destination is the scene, then print that the user made a cube. And let's play this, and let's throw a cube in there. The user made a cube. With that information, you can do a lot of stuff for your UI. Granted, at the moment, it's printing back 3 times. There's more stuff that you can do to parse this to make sure that, hey, just give me one of these. Just give it to me as long as some more other conditional statements are met. But ultimately, you now have a callback for someone dragging something from the native UI of MotionBuilder and dragging it into the scene. Thus, you can then trigger things with this, right? I would hazard a guess let's just try this very quickly. I would hazard a guess that if we printed back, let's just print back not only that the user made a cube, but let's also just print back at the end of this as well. We'll leave a space just so it's a little bit easier. The event dot, what's something here that could potentially help us out? Let's just print back everything that we haven't necessarily used actually, and we could probably parse this by the final thing. So I'm thinking source index might actually help us here. What else could potentially help us? Those are really the last two. We've got connection type. Why not? Let's throw it in there. You never know. They were all none before, but connection type. Because the thing that we're looking for is something between these three that we can use in order to delineate, okay, well, a cube's been made, right? And we only want to get that result once. So let's throw that in. And as you can see there, we have three different source index numbers, right? We've got a requested connection source, a connect, and a connected. So what you could argue is, okay, we want to make sure that the action that has been pulled back from the user pulling in a cube is actually KFB connected to say that this is connected, this is good, now do something with my UI, now do something with my external user interface. So we'll just do a merging again. We'll go new, and what we'll do is we'll go if event dot action, and this is yandere levels of if statements, but it's more just to show you the kind of general idea. If the event dot action equals, and I'll show you a different way of doing this actually, equals KFB, that's SFB, KFB connected, then print back that the user made a cube, because we know that's the final thing that gets done. That's the action being that, yeah, we've accepted that it is connected to the scene now. Now, there's a reason why that won't work, and it looks very similar to all of the other different if statements that we've made, right? And this is getting ridiculous on the levels of if, but the reason that won't work is event.action is not a string, and we're trying to compare it to a string, right? So if you ever did want to just get exactly what's in the console and kind of, because you're seeing that it's printing it back as such, and you needed to get it back as a string, just remember that you can str this stuff and get it as a string, and that's when you can compare it to that string value. So we've merged something, I believe. I believe we have. Yes, let me just double check. Yes, we have. Okay. We're just going to clear out the console very quickly. We're just going to hit play. And we're just going to throw a cube in there. And there you go. The user made a cube. So now, as I say, you can use that now to start to work with a UI that you've done maybe in PySide or something like that. That's one way that we can use this, and that is, again, generating something which has happened natively from the UI into the scene, and you've caught that. You've been able to do something with that. It's exciting stuff. So let's move on to the next example. So the next example that we're going to work with is, and I'm not going to, actually, yeah, I might as well kind of get rid of some of this stuff now. So we'll get rid of on connection notify. We'll get rid of that there up to there, and we'll get rid of this up to there. Okay. So the next one that we're going to work with is on. Actually, I'm going to do this a better way just so we can see a condensed list of that. We are going to take a look at on connection state notify. Now this is quite similar to the one that we've just actually played with. But as opposed to the connections which are happening in MotionBuilder to connect, say, the model to system properties or a keying group or something like that, what this does is it gives you feedback on what the user has actually done in the scene, say with selecting and deselecting, which again is super awesome. So remove, that was what I'm looking for. So we will add in our unregister as remove there. Got a really itchy nose tonight. And yeah, what we'll do is we'll create our definition very quickly. And again, remember, we need control and event, because that is the way that we're passing any of this information which is coming through. And again, those variables can be called whatever you want, but control and event kind of makes sense. The control, by the way, will pretty much, in this case, return system. So we just know what the control is, what the thing is. We don't necessarily need to use it that much. It's more the event. So let's just get straight into this one, right? So let's just print event again, because we're going to get something a little bit different. And let's just print event.action. Cool. Okay. And there is actually one other thing that we'll print here as well, just for the sake of it, and we'll print event.plug. I believe it's event.plug. We'll certainly find out in a second if it isn't. So we'll just go file. Actually, let's leave this in. Why not? We've still got our on file merge if we need to merge anything in and just kind of like clear everything out. So let's just clear out the console. Let's hit play. And oh, I did it again. I am a horrible, horrible person. Did we get anything connected? No. It's always good to check. Let's hit play again. Okay, cool. So nothing's necessarily happening, but let's click some things. Wow. Okay, thank you, MotionBuilder. You just gave us a reselect and you gave us a select. And also with event.plug, you gave us the actual thing that we selected. Like, awesome. This is really freaking cool. It means now that technically, I mean, we get the unselect there as well from the from deselecting the cube. But ultimately, this now means that, let's just say that this is actually a great example for it, because what we've got here, we've got something called head mesh. Okay. Let's just do a file merge. Let's just clear everything out. We're going to be merging another one of those heads in a second, though. And let's just do a merge of that head one last time. Let's clear that. Now we know this is called head_mesh, right? What we could do here is we could say, okay, if the event.action equals KFB select, and again, we want to put a string around that just so we know what we're getting. So if it equals select, and also if the event.plug.name equals head mesh, then let's print out something like now show face controls. Okay, we could do something like that. Now, obviously, we're not showing any face controls by doing this, but at the same time, you can see how this is going to work. We're going to wait for something in MotionBuilder to have a select come back to us. Once we've done that, we're going to pass the information as to what that actual plug is that's been selected, which in this case we're hoping is head mesh. Let me just see that that is all head mesh, yeah. And then once we've done that, technically from a UI point of view, you could say, hey, show me a list of controls which are specific to the thing that I've just selected in MotionBuilder. Let's give it a play and let's see it work. So we've hit play. It's all been added. It's all been registered now. So when I click the head mesh, now show face controls. This is awesome. This is absolutely crazy cool. If we wanted to, we could even get a deselect on this and say like, hey, it's been deselected. Clear out the control list at this point. Hopefully, you're starting to understand how absolutely awesome these things are when you're using them correctly. Cool. Let's do one more with FB system. So we'll merge in the face, the head again, just to kind of give us a bit of sanity on that. And what is the last one that we want to work with? Oh, the last one that we want to work with is on data notify, on connection data notify. So let's work with this one very quickly. Now, as this sounds like, on connection data notify is really good for getting real-time feedback on Yeah, that's what I want to do. Yeah, sorry, sometimes it gets a little bit confusing. Um, On connection data notify is as it sounds, as I've just said. It is basically going to return back whenever the data has been changed, and this is somewhat to do with the properties pane to some degree. So you'll see that we'll be able to move something in translation like a cube, and when it understands that that data has been changed, also things like visibility, we should be able to see something call back saying like, hey, the data has changed on the properties of this particular item. So let's just add an event there as well. Let's print, what do we want to do for this? Let's print, let's take a look. Event action and event plug, why not? So event dot action and event dot plug. But at the same time, what we'll do is we will do event dot plug dot translation. Hopefully this will work. Cool, so for the sake of argument, let's throw in a cube. We haven't got any callbacks working at the moment or anything, but when we hit play and we select it and we start to move it, ooh, animatable vector 3D object has no attribute translation. Okay, that's fine. Let's just do a file. Oh, wait, we did get it at the top there. We actually got the candidate there. So I know exactly what's happened here. There's multiple different things which are being triggered one after the other, and some of them just don't have translation. So a really easy way to get around that quick is we're just going to put a try and accept around it. And I would never say do this, on the regular or anything like that, but we are definitely going to do it just to kind of show you. Accept, and then we'll just pass if we don't want anything from it. We don't want to do this on the regular with our code or anything like that, but we certainly want to do it for this so we can just kind of understand what we're going to be getting back, right? So let's hit play again. Let's move this in translation, and there you go. You're getting callback for absolutely everything that happens. Now, as you can see, MotionBuilder starting to crap itself a little bit, right, for what you're doing. You are printing back something so quickly in the log, and print statements are always one of the things that are notorious for slowing down anything, right? But if you were to parse this just like we were for the head mesh and look for a very specific thing, you should be able to find things like, oh, I don't know if, this won't work actually because visibility is not something that has translation. But, oh wait, no, we do get it back. And that would be, oh, the plug. Okay, the plug being, see, we're all learning. The plug would be the thing which is the actual property itself that we're changing. So visibility inheritance, there you go. You've got your FB property bool. Scaling, let's see, viewer options, show, that's right there. Culling, we're going to change that to inner, and we get an enum back from that as well. So again, hopefully this kind of puts the point across. I am not messing with anything to do with a custom UI here or anything, but I am damn well getting feedback from MotionBuilder in order to feed this into a custom UI if I need to be able to say, hey, only show the controls if this, or hey, find out if the user has changed the visibility on something, or when they change the visibility on something, I need you to do something at that given point. Super, super cool stuff. I think this stuff is really fascinating. So yeah, with that being said, that's going to end this particular video when we're talking about FB system. And in the next video, we're going to do a last little example, which is an interesting one, which is the FB Evaluate Manager. And that's where we can do really cool stuff like getting feedback from the timeline instantly and stuff like that. So until the next video, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this and I hope you've learned something. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, guys.